What's going on, you beautiful people? And this is a really exciting video. We're going to be talking about the roster breakdown as of where we are now in the offseason. And once again, I have my good friend, Corey from @the Canucks News, the Canucks News summary guy on Twitter. Corey, how's it going, buddy? You excited for this one?
Very excited, big sexy.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. All right. So let's start with the forwards. All right. So this is what I personally have, how the team is going to be looking at this state in the offseason. Today, it's what is it? July 11th when we're recording this video. This is what I see. And we're going to be going through the forwards. We're going to go through the defense. We're going to go through the goalies, talk about maybe even trades, how we're going to move up certain players up and down the roster. It's going to be all great. And this is how I see it. And we'll see if Corey actually agrees with me or not. So on the first line, I have Evander Kane with Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser. The reason for this is very, very simple. I want that meat and potatoes guy, Evander Kane, to protect Elias Pettersson. I want Pettersson to just go on and have a nice big bounce back season and not have to worry about getting absolutely hammered into the boards and have no one really respond. I want to see Kane protect PD, and he can score quite a bit too. I also like Brock Boeser on that other side. I think it's going to make up a pretty decent line. Next up, I have Jake DeBrusk with Filip Chytil and Nils Höglander. Wow. So obviously the most important thing to mention is that we don't have a real true second line center. Now, Filip Chytil could be that, but he has a lot of injury problems in the past. Apparently he's healthy right now, and that's good. And I hope he plays a completely healthy season and he just rips it up for us. But he does have health concerns. This is one of the reasons why we are looking for a second line center. And Jim Rutherford did mention again, as recently as like a week ago, not even, that we are still looking for a second line center, including Patrick Allvin. So the guys I have there is Nils Höglander, who could potentially be on the move as well. But again, these aren't like concrete details, just guys people are throwing kind of out there, except for a couple names that have been kind of through the insiders. And you have Jake DeBrusk on the left side there, who's, a solid, consistent. He scores goal. It kind of reminds me of a better version of JVR. That's the kind of guy I've always thought Jake DeBrusk kind of is. Now, on the third line, I have Dakota Joshua with Teddy Bluger and Connor Garland. I'm reuniting this line if this is who we actually have starting the season. They were amazing that one season. Now, apparently, they're completely good. They're healthy. They're ready to rock. I want to see that line. I want to give them a long stretch. They had chemistry in the past. I think they can have chemistry again. This is something I want to see. Now, of course, you can have Kiefer Sherwood move up there and be on the third line and then move up, obviously, Garland in that scenario, maybe move Höglander down to the fourth line. But this is how I kind of envision kind of like our shutdown kind of line. This is what I want to see. And then I have Drew O'Connor on the left side there, Atu Ratu making the team as our fourth line center. And then you have, again, Kiefer Sherwood on that right side and potentially Carlson, who could be making this team as well. As you can see, I'm going through a lot of young guys potentially making this team. Another guy to look into is Max Sasson. And because he, the guy's super fast, super talented. Is he ready yet? Who knows? And then we have Arshdeep Bains, another guy who was actually brought up quite recently with Elliot Friedman as a potential guy to make this team. So that's all thing. Corey, your turn. How do you see this roster envisioning for forwards?
Yeah, I see it pretty much the same way you have it in terms of lines. That's malleable like game to game. So I can see that working out. I think Kane and Pettersson is a good idea. And when you're paying Boeser that much money, he's kind of got to be stable to your number one center. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but downside with that second line is incredibly streaky. Mm-hmm. Like there could be 20 game stretches where that second line doesn't even get barely gets a shot on net. Mm-hmm. from like at least over the last several seasons from like what those guys have done, hot and cold, right? Third line's dependable. They didn't play together much last year though. That Joshua Bluger Garland line. Well, it was weird, but I mean, remember Joshua was out for almost half the season, and Garland was out of necessity elevated up the lineup, and he's kind of.
It's important to mention that Joshua apparently is training, everything seems to be good. Apparently, the whole roster is healthy now.
Everyone is fully healthy.
That's what they're saying. Everybody is fully healthy, and Dakota did have a tough year last year for pretty obvious reasons, and we're hoping he's completely healthy, ready to rock this year for a big bounce back campaign. Sorry, continue.
And then, I see Ratu definitely making the team. I think he earned that over the end of the last season. Unfortunately, he was injured in the playoffs, and kind of other than I saw him live. He played 2 shifts and then missed the rest of the playoffs again.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing some research for an article, and that research is about 5.5 or 5v5 point rates. And the highest player, the highest forward, actually the highest player on the team was Kiefer Sherwood.
Oh, interesting.
And the second highest player was Atu Ratu.
But also, he had a great end to the season too.
Yep, he did. And Philip Yedel actually scored quite well in 5.5 or 5v5 point rates. So there's some potential there, but this team still very much has a pretty gaping hole, reliable second line center. And then Linus Karlsson, I think he's going to make the team. I think if some things shake out and some players are moved off, he's going to be a regular. And I love the way he plays the game. I like his board work. I like his net front presence. He's not necessarily super tall, but he's stout. He's strong, and he knows what his role is and what he needs to do.
So let's get to kind of the obvious thing here. We don't have a true second line center because we are currently looking for one. This has been reported basically through everybody. And now we have cap problems, I guess, as well, because Brock Besser has signed, which was a good deal for sure. But we have cap problems, so we can't just fill some guy in anymore, right? It won't work. So we have to trade some people out. So some of the names that have been rumored to leave potentially in a trade would be Dakota Joshua, Rick Dhaliwal mentioned that a few times, and Teddy Bluger as well. That potentially is a guy who could be on the move. And of course, the other guy when we get to defenseman is maybe even a Tom Willander if we really want to go and go for that big fish. But again. How are we going to make it work with the cap? That is a big issue now, right? So how are we going to do that? Who knows? But that is kind of what we're looking at. And of course, if we do move guys like Teddy Bluger, Joshua, we're losing penalty killers. And this is something that the Canucks were really solid at last season. And, if we lose too many penalty killers, you gotta have new ones step up, which could possibly do it. But again, these are proven guys. Bluger is a proven penalty killer. This is one of the better ones in the league. So just something to think about there. So now let's go to the defense. The defense is very, very interesting because most of these guys we're running it back from the second half of last season with one really interesting name. So we have, again, this is how I see it looking. Quinn Hughes, Philip Hronek on the top line. Nothing else needs to be said. Marcus Pettersson, who looked really good for us, and he's pairing up with Tyler Myers. And Tyler Myers, is getting up there in age. He's 35 years old, but again, he had another pretty solid season. He's getting better as he's getting older, which is
playing his best hockey of his career, most complete hockey of his career. It's weird. I attribute that to so bigger creatures tend to age much slower. I think that's just what's going on with him.
And it's just experience too, especially with the stick. He's a lot more efficient with it, especially along the boards. And he's a little bit more physical now. I think that was a Rick Tocchet thing. I guess coaching is another really important thing to mention. It's completely different this season.
It's an Adam Foote thing specifically. Yeah. Adam Foote spent a lot of time with Tyler Myers. Yep.
And then I have Derek Forbert and DPD on the right side there. Now, you're probably wondering, why is PD on the right side, not the left side? Because I believe we need the penalty killing, and Derek Forbert is one of the best penalty killers in the league. And,
I'm going to stop you there. He is the best penalty killer.
There you go.
I have written articles on this. There's irrefutable proof. Derek Forbert is the best penalty killer in the entire league.
So there you go. Hot take. I don't know if that's a hot take even, actually. That's just a fact.
Back it up.
Factual statement from Corey over here. So that's why I have him in this lineup. And Pettersson, he did play the right side. He actually can play both the left and the right side. So I have no issue having him over on the right side. And then we have Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who Corey is going to get into quite a bit here. And we have Victor Mancini. So when I see this defense, I'm thinking we need to make a trade. Personally, I just that's what I see, because this defense is very solid. You look at it, we have youth, we have offensive ability with Quinn Hughes and Hronek. We have defensive shutdown guys who can actually move the puck as well, like Marcus Pettersson. You know, Myers, you have the experienced guy, you have the penalty killer and Forbert. You know, DPD's the young guy who can pretty much do a little bit of everything. Hopefully he doesn't have a sophomore slump. You know, Victor Mancini was great for Abby, and he was solid for us as well. You know, could he potentially make this roster? And same with Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who's always been an NHL guy. This is kind of how I have it. And I just see I know it's good to have depth, but like me personally, and I really want to talk about this, I think it would be a monumental mistake, personally, if we send down Elias Pettersson and have him in Abby this year, even if it's even for half the season. I don't think that's the right move. Personally, I think he's ready. Again, they didn't paper him down last season because they said he was going to be healthy and ready for this season and good to go and make this team and be a big part of this team. If you have him, especially the fact that Abby went on that cup run and he didn't get the experience, if you now next season have Pettersson not make this top six, unless he's just like really awful in training camp or suffered an injury or something, I think it would just be absolute mismanagement. Me personally, that's why I believe there needs to be a trade here. Corey, all yours.
I mean, I don't even think it's a discussion point. Pettersson's going to make the team unless something really wrong happened in training camp. Mm-hmm. That's easy. I don't think Mancini's going to end up making the team. Mm-hmm. For mostly more for cap purposes than anything, but also if you look at that, I think Joseph will make the team. And I think Joseph's going to make the team because he's a guy you can just easily scratch and you can just kind of lug around as your 7th, 8th defenseman for the season. Mm-hmm. If he works as a Willam replacement, then that's great. But I think he fits actually quite well in this lineup as just kind of like your next man up. And that allows you to play Willander and Mancini in Abbotsford.
And you did mention cap as well. Like, get into that. Like technically this roster that we're showing you guys is still, I believe, 100,000 over the cap, and that's with Shilov's being sent down. So most likely getting picked up on waivers if we don't trade him. So so this roster is currently, just a minute, I have it on my screen over here. This currently it's not 100,000, it's only 25,000 over the cap. It's super close, but it's still over the cap. Want to take a loan? Let's take a loan, Corey. Yeah. Let's get to it.
So you send down Mancini, it gets you a little bit more space, gets you over the cap, and then or under the cap, and then there you go. But you're running a 22 out of 23 man roster, so you're actually under that. You do have that does give you enough space to say call up Max Sasson, actually, and then you would still be under the cap. So that's where kind of that flexibility comes from.
No state tax, no.
Yeah, right. Now, the issue with all this is, elephant in the room, as you show right there, Shilovs.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do something with Shilovs. He just can't be on the roster. You're not going to roster 3 goalies. You're not going to spend that much. You're not going to allocate a spot to him. So something is going to happen with him one way or the other, whether that is trading him, waiving him, or and losing him, or manage to sneak him through. I don't think that he would sneak through. I think someone would claim him. Pittsburgh. Well, I think I don't think there's no chance. I think there's actually a decent chance. Things can get a little weird. But I mean, Patera got grabbed last year too. And that was a weird one.
Shilov's coming off the MVP in AHL. Apparently, he's everybody knows he's just a nice guy. He doesn't add any drama. A team is going to go and grab the guy. He's going to be worth peanuts there. That's why I truly believe we will be trading him, even if it's for a 5th or 6th rounder. Like, he's going to get traded. And because the Canucks did decide to run Demko and Lankinen. They're paying, $9.5 million right now for this season. And that's the way they decided to build this roster. So that's what we're going to be doing. There's no way we can have Shilov as well, again, because of the whole waiver situation. That's just the way it is. So Yeah, Shelovs is going to be most likely gone from this roster. And that's kind of how I have the Vancouver Canucks as a whole. So any final thoughts here, Corey, on the Canucks right here?
Yeah, so if there's any changes, something that Friedman brought up and we discussed was making room for Baines, which is not really what he meant. He more or less actually meant like if the Canucks have to trade 2 players and get 1 player back, they're not afraid of doing that because they have Baines who can fill that role. And you actually see that in the forward group as well. There's only 4 centers in this entire lineup. Only 4 guys can play center. None of these other guys can really play center. Carlson, Puckpedia has him listed as a right wing center. He is, as far as I know, I don't know the last time he's actually played center. I don't even think he actually played it in Sweden in the Swedish Elite League. I guess it's not called the Swedish Elite League anymore. That's because I'm old.
By the way, someone mentioned, I'm not sure if it was you or if I read it, that Dakota Joshua apparently played center back in the day.
Yeah, so Dakota Joshua actually even occasionally does play center for the Canucks. He often takes faceoffs, especially on penalty kill. He's an excellent faceoff guy. He's played a little bit in the minors, but almost entirely professionally, he's been a left wing. Big part of that is that his foot speed is lacking, so it's hard for him to track, and he ends up spending so much time tracking down the other center and covering his part of the ice that he can't get in on the forecheck. He just doesn't have the speed to do everything. And his forechecking and hitting that's his claim to fame. That's his biggest strength. That's his game. Well, it's what he does better than almost anyone else on the ice. So if you're taking that away from him, you're in lieu of, well, okay, now you can try to play center. I don't think that that's actually a net positive. I think that's more of a negative because now you're losing your best forechecker and your biggest physical presence trying to get him to do something else. And I think the best thing that he could be is, say you trade away Bluger, but you keep Joshua, is then utilizing Joshua as the center on the penalty kill where the foot speed doesn't matter as much. You're not forechecking. You're not even hitting as much. You just got to use that intelligence because that's all it needs for PK.
Yeah, and I'm happy you mentioned the penalty kill because I do plan to. I'm not sure if Corey's going to be joining me, but I do plan to make a video on the power play and penalty kill kind of together in a nice one beautiful package because there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah,
interesting kind of takes and how we're going to be able to even do this properly. But again, guys, this is what we have kind of with the roster breakdown as of right now. So again, we have to work on the cap a little bit here. We have to figure out if there's going to be any more trades. Of course, I'll have videos on that once those kind of break down and we get kind of a more final look. But this is what we got. So drop a like on this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this roster breakdown. And thank you, Corey, so much for joining me once again.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, guys.